Hi, I'm Mark from Lloyds. I work in the People and Places part of the business. It's great to welcome the Future Leaders students here today at Old Broad Street in London.
I really enjoyed my trip to the Lloyds Tower today because we got to see a lot of different colleagues who worked here, a lot of different roles that they had.
It's made me feel confident speaking to new employees.
They've had a fantastic session. We talk about skills, how, the CV part.
It gave me an insight on how to come across when it comes to interviews. As before, I didn't really know how to really present myself when it came to interviews.
We also learned how to sort of identify any key skills that we may have.
This experience has been very eye-opening for me, as I've been able to know my strengths and weaknesses.
It made me more mindful of the values which I have as an individual. So they were talking about a personal brand, and it really makes me more confident in myself.
At Future Leaders, we are passionate about working with young people from underrepresented backgrounds, closing the opportunity gap and giving them experiences that help them secure their post-18 pathways. Today at Lloyds Bank was exactly about that, where they got to meet with a range of professionals, develop their skills, their personal brand, and their growth mindset to ensure that they are prepared for their next steps.
Future Leaders are a great organisation. It's great to work with them, and we look forward to further collaborations with Future Leaders and Lloyds Bank.
Ready?
Steady.
Go.
Here at Lloyds Banking Group, there's no such thing as just an apprentice. I'm in a position to say whether our products are fair, ethical and designed to help Britain prosper.
That moment when you realise you're in a team managing over £150 billion in funds.
It isn't all finance all the time. I led a partnership with Macmillan to help our customers access better cancer care.
Everyone knows you can trust Lloyds. I've seen our bold sustainability commitments, and every day I see us following through.
1 minute I'm leaving uni with my sports science degree. The next I'm in a room thinking of ideas to help millions of families during the pandemic.
I work in financial crime, international sanctions. As you can imagine, it's a pretty interesting place to be right now.
1 minute you're reading about the cost of living crisis, and the next you're writing a briefing paper on it.
Off the back of my dissertation on DevOps pipelines, I went into an engineering role, and now I'm rolling it out company-wide.
We all got million subscriptions nowadays, so my team built a tool that helps 18 million customers manage them in our app.
When it's not developing with React or Redux, it's gaming with the other grads, or the odd night out.
I couldn't be prouder of my outreach work through Lloyds, helping school-age girls and non-binary people get into coding.
My next step, go for an associate director role, either in my team or something new and exciting. How's that for a rotation?
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Lloyds Careers Live. So I'm Ian, and I think we've got my colleague Damon as well, who's joining us for this evening. Damon, I just want to check that you're actually there, because I did wonder
I'm back
for
here.
just a moment.
Sorry.
You are back, just to prove that this is absolutely live this evening.
We are live. Typical. So yeah, sorry, Ian. I'll crack on then. So good evening, everyone. I'm Damon from Lloyds Banking Group, and let me welcome you to Lloyds Careers Live. I'm joined tonight by my colleague Ian, and we both work for Lloyds Banking Group. And as you may know, Careers Live is the careers fair that comes to you. Every month we feature a completely new career space for you to consider. We find out what's involved, where things are heading, and how you can get into each particular profession. Back in April, my colleagues Elaine and Heather were the hosts of Careers Live, exploring careers in human resources and people management. This is a really important profession that exists in almost every organisation, yet not one that a lot of people talk about. And if you've missed it, pop over to our YouTube channel where you can catch it again. Tonight we are on more familiar ground, so something you'd expect from an organisation like Lloyds Banking Group. We're talking about careers in banking.
So hi, Damon. So I'm Ian, and I'm covering for our colleague Ben, who was supposed to be here this evening, but unfortunately detained on other things. So hello to Ben, and lots of love and best wishes to the family this evening. So really pleased to be here supporting you, Damon, on Lloyds Careers Live. So this is Lloyds Banking Group. We're an organization that's been around for around 300 years. And so if you imagine the many hundreds and thousands of people over that time who started out and maybe even finished their careers in banking. And of course, a lot has changed since Mr. Taylor and Mr. Lloyd set up shop in Birmingham all those years ago. But for today's customers of Lloyds Banking Group, the way we look after money is just as important and vital as it might have been hundreds of years ago. And here I am this evening in our latest building that we've just opened here in the harbour side of Bristol. So this is completely unscripted for this evening. But Damon, shall we see if we can take ourselves on a little bit of a tour? This may go horribly wrong. See, you may have to cover if I fall off the balcony or something. So I'm just gonna unplug for a second. I'm gonna move over onto this screen, turn one video off, and then hopefully you'll see me over on.
It was fairly seamlessly in, so we can see you now. I think it's still on.
Yeah, so how are we doing? Can you manage to hear me okay?
Can hear you and we can see you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
Great.
this is Harbourside in Bristol. This is our newest office here in Lloyds Banking Group. So if you came to join us in a place like Bristol or one of our new offices that's opening in Leeds shortly, then this is the kind of place that you could be working in. As you can see, it's like 4 floors all the way down there. There's not many people in here now at 6 o'clock this evening. And I'll show you, this is one of our sustainability buildings. So it's all kind of energy saving stuff and all kinds of things like that, and some pretty cool things going on as well. And then over in the corner, I just want to show you my favorite bit in this building, although people are cleaning at the moment. So just to prove that this is actually live. And then if you come to work in Bristol, you come to this place, which is our grow room, and you get to meet the happy seagull who's there somewhere. I don't know. Can you see my seagull? He's looking a little bit scary out there, but this is the Bristol skyline. And this is like one of, I think, this is like my normal building. And I think this is one of the coolest views that you can have as a workplace. But obviously Lloyds Banking Group is represented right across the UK. And the things that we're going to talk to you about this evening, I'm going to go back into our room now, is all about careers in banking, which could be in our frontline services in our branches, which go right across the country as well. And Damon, I think whilst I just get myself sorted again, you can tell everybody a little bit about how Lloyds Banking Group has actually changed.
Yeah, so over the years, Lloyds have many changes. We could probably spend a whole hour on this live stream just describing the history of this organisation, that almost everyone born in the UK has just grown up with this familiar space on High Street. So we are called Lloyds Banking Group. And this, there are companies that each serve specific in our front main branding, they've been proud in the industry. Now stronger, but customers of Lloyds and customers of Halifax have very different expectations of how they would like to be served and spoken to. Each has their own identity and branches. And branches of Lloyds and Halifax look very different when you speak to them. Halifax is also the brand in Northern Ireland, whilst if you're joining them, the Bank of Scotland, also part of the Lloyds Banking Group, that has its own identity and independent history aligned with Scotland itself.
So alongside this, we have different types of customers and we serve them in different kinds of ways. So customers like you and I, we're called retail customers in the way that we talk about them in Lloyds Banking Group. And so we've got a long and proud heritage of looking after retail customers, but also of helping businesses to be able to succeed as well. So we look after the finances for a wide range of different businesses. Everybody who's running like a little side hustle on the side, you know, if you're doing a bit of TikTok or Instagram selling on the side, or maybe even your full-time job, through to some of the biggest names that are there on the high street. And the needs of all of those different sizes of businesses are clearly really different. And this shows that when we talk about careers in banking, between the different kind of brands and the different kind of customers that we serve, there are so many different jobs that you can do in lots of different ways.
So tonight in Careers Live, our aim is to help you understand the diversity of careers in banking itself, which can be hugely rewarding and fulfilling careers. But we also want to use the time to introduce you to some of our great colleagues of ours who have developed their careers beyond their early days in the frontline banking. To give you a bit of a flavour of infinite possibilities that come from joining a big organisation like Lloyds Banking Group, and the continuous investment you can expect in learning, development throughout your career, apprenticeships and beyond.
Okay, so I'm just going to apologise if you're getting some audio feedback this evening. We're just going to check Damon's mic for him because we've got a little bit of feedback coming through. But Damon, I feel like we've been talking a lot already, and I've nicely settled down now after my little trip around Harbourside as well. So why don't we test our audience out this evening and find out what they already know about banking and who's been listening attentively so far. Now, if you're joining us on Zoom, you can use the chat function for this. I can see some of you having a chat with Sharon already. If you're watching us on YouTube live stream, well, fantastic and welcome. You can use the comments over there as well. Right, so quick and easy question for everybody. One that we've already given you the answer to already. Lloyds Banking Group in retail is made up out of 3 different brands on the high street. So can you remember what we told you about the 3 different brands? Can anybody remember the names of the 3 different brands that make up Lloyds Banking Group? Let's have a look, see how clever everybody is. And we'll do that whilst Damon's checking his microphone. So Oliver says, Boss. Yeah, the Boss. Halifax and Bank of Scotland. Brilliant, Jonah, well done. Halifax and Bank of Scotland, we've missed one out. It's the Horse. Halifax, Lloyds and Bank of Scotland. Well done, Emma. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so Damon, back over to you. We're going to talk about brands.
Yeah, fingers crossed you can hear me clearly. Okay, now, if not, I'll look in. So we talked about brands earlier on. And
yeah,
what is a brand?
Your audio is still a bit jumpy, Damon. I don't know if you've got any wired headset or whatever. If you want me to carry on for the moment, I can do. Let me carry on then whilst we just get Damon sorted, because he's got a little bit of the kind of Doctor Who Dalek thing going on, but we'll keep him checked out. So we talked about brands earlier on and what is a brand. Now, for example, the brand image for Apple is unsurprisingly an apple. But when we see an apple, we already think about iPhones and iPads and Macs and Apple products. But we also have a sense when we see that symbol that this means things like quality, customer service, and premium pricing, like a little bit more expensive. And this kind of thing is about a brand. So once again, a little bit of a quiz for everybody. So what is the brand symbol for Lloyds Bank? Let's see. It's a horse. Does it have a color? It's a black horse. The $1 million question we always ask people is how many black horses there are, but I don't think we actually know, do we, Damon? We know there are more than one to make it happen, but they probably keep that secret. So since you're really good on the black horse, Damon, should we test them out in terms of Halifax's brand as well? What's the logo then, do we think, for Halifax? This is a little bit more tricky.
Yeah. Well, is that what the we've got? Recovery and X, very good.
Yeah, your audio is still off, I think, Damon. Yeah, we might let you disconnect and then reconnect in there. But you're right, you're absolutely right. It is absolutely the X. So well done, everybody there. So we got a sharp audience tonight. Brilliant. Now a little bit more tricky. Thinking about careers in retail banking. What are the kinds of things that you could do if you were working in frontline retail banking? So if you imagine yourself being in one of our branches, what kind of things might you be getting up to, do you think? What kind of things do people do in these branches? Customer advisor, branch manager, they help with online banking. Yeah, because online banking is something some people find easy, some people find a little bit more difficult. The great answers there. Jonah, mortgage advisor, yeah, and helping consumers. Being on the counter, high cash. Oliver's clearly been working somewhere near a branch before. He's got some of the lingo in there. I mean, these days people tend to use slightly less cash actually anyway, so a lot of it is about giving advice to people. So some great answers there. And you're right, you're going to be solving people's needs, whether that is helping them to find a good place for their savings, helping them to borrow money for bigger purchases such as a car or a house, and also helping to keep their money safe from fraud, because of course there are a lot of people out there who are doing things which are not in the best interests of our customers. So we mentioned hundreds and thousands of people have had successful careers in banking. Frontline customer service has been the place where so many different careers had launched. Damon started there, and I started there, and lots of other people started there as well. And behind the scenes in Lloyds Banking Group, just over half of our 55,000 colleagues look after a range of things that make the financial system and organization work. And many of those are using experiences they gained from their days in frontline customer service to inform the design and also to develop brand new services and products for customers. Now, in my wallet here, I'm sure a number of you have got them. You'll all have like one of these. See, I'm perfectly branded there with my Lloyds Bank card, and I'm sure you've got one of those. Back in the 1970s, the very first cash machine appeared in the UK. But particularly through and after the pandemic, our love of cash seems to have changed a bit, and card usage and electronic payments through mobile devices took off. So if you take the Lloyds Bank app, for example, there are 7 million users doing all their banking online, checking balances, making payments, budgeting, and saving, all from the devices in their hands. And that's really helpful. And we're developing services to do that and have people within the team who really understand how do customers think, and what do they need and what do they want. So many people go on to develop their career in specialist functions after spending their initial time working in frontline customer service. They take all that knowledge of what it takes to look after customers, and then they add on extra knowledge, quite often through apprenticeships, and then that's how we develop our products. And between us all, that's how we make banking a force for good. Damon, let's see. Are you back with us? And if I'm not being
back, fingers crossed.
Yeah, if I'm not being rude, welcome back, mate. How much cash have you got on you right now?
Well, I think I do have one £50 note actually that I was given
Oh,
as a gift.
look at you. I've
I
got
was given as a gift. I think it must have been Christmas actually. So that's hiding in the cupboard. Other than that, if I needed any cash, it's probably searching at the back of the sofa. I think is probably where I'd go for any cash.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if we all remember for just a moment, like before the pandemic, cash, the bits of paper and metal and plastic, we passed all that around us, right? And then when we all got into hand gelling everything that moved, paying for things in contactless ways became really popular. And that's another example of innovation that makes banking work. So we've got another quick challenge for you now in the chat for those of you, because we've got some really brainy people here this evening, I can see. In November last year, in the run up to Christmas, we Brits used our contactless payment cards and debit cards a staggering 2.1 billion times. Now, some people have clearly got some awesome presents, not people in Damon's family, because clearly he hangs on to the £50 note himself. But what we want to know is how much, so we know they used their cards 2.1 billion times, but in total, how much did they spend on those cards? And we're going to measure this in tens of billions, I think, just to make it a bit easier. So how much in November, in the run up to Christmas, did people spend in the UK on their plastic cards? Let's have a look in the chat. I'll get my window back over here and see what kind of numbers, what have we got coming in. 50 million. Amelia says 65. Too much, probably too much actually, Patrick, except in Damon's case, of course, Valia 150 billion. Tristan's closest at the moment, just to give you a clue. If anybody wants to get closer to it, Tristan's the closest to that actual number. Still no coming. Right, okay, so the answer is, yay, Valia got it. So the answer is actually 73 billion pounds. I don't actually know what you do with 73 billion pounds. It sounds like a lot of money, but well done, Valia, for getting closest to it. And Tristan, who got us up to the 70 as well. That's a lot of money, actually, Damon, isn't it? I don't know what 73. It's like a crazy amount of money, isn't it? I don't even know what it means. It's so
No,
big.
I think the only person who might know is Elon Musk. Probably, he could probably spend it on a couple of companies, couldn't he? But no. So we mentioned we have some special guests lined up for you this evening to help us understand a bit more about the careers in banking. So we have our colleagues Nadia, Missy Ann, and Mary, who can all help us understand a little bit more around their careers, how they started out, and how their time in working in the front line banking has shaped the way they see things and how they do their jobs today.
Yeah, and later on we'll be finding out all about apprenticeships in banking. We've got our colleague Sharon, who's not going to do Sharon Cymraeg for us this evening, but she's all lined up and I can see her in the chat already. And she's going to be helping us to understand some things around the world of apprenticeship and how you can start your career in frontline banking. You don't have to wait for Sharon until she comes on right at the end of the broadcast. You can have a chat with her. She's manning the chat at the moment. So any questions that you have around banking, Lloyds, careers, whatever, just go mad for it, make her work for her money and throw some questions in the chat for her. Now, the world of banking has moved on quite a bit from Gringotts Bank in the Harry Potter films, and because technology is used to do the ordinary and everyday tasks, it means that our frontline colleagues are often the superheroes who are dealing with the extraordinary situations that customers face. So if you're up for the challenge, we have a tricky dilemma scenario for you to have a go at tackling a little bit later on. It's a very real dilemma that our frontline colleagues have to face into with great sensitivity and care. And it'll give you a good idea of the types of things that you may face if you decide to go into one of these roles. So, Damon.
So, Ian, I think we know by now that everyone has figured out how to use a Zoom chat. So just so that you know, we have added closed captions on as well. So if you need that to support you throughout the event, you can activate this now on Zoom. It is your event. So like Ian has mentioned, any questions, fire them to Sharon and we will get going with those as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so Damon, we say that Careers Live is hosted by real live colleagues, and you and I were chatting a little bit before we came on air to find out that your first place that you worked was the place where I opened my very first bank account. And all hail to, what a fluke was that? So all hail to everybody from Swansea this evening, in their Halifax in Union Street, Swansea, I think it was, wasn't it, Damon?
It was, yeah. It was a busy branch back then. And I was going to say, frontline banking has been a massive part of my career. Going to say that I started in a customer advisor role in Swansea Union Street. But banking wasn't actually my first choice. I actually wanted to get into marketing. But when I started as a customer advisor in the branch, I realized I was actually really good at it. I like talking to customers and I felt really good when I was able to help them. So I guess that experience has kind of stayed with me, really.
Yeah. So I had one of those interesting journeys where my offer letter told me that I was going to be posted to Boston, and I thought, well, hey, I've made the big time, but actually it turned out to be Boston in Lincolnshire, not Boston in the US. But I've probably carried all of my frontline banking experience through everything. So I went into business banking. So I was running in those days a business center. I had my own group of clients. And then I moved into a head office career where I was developing new products and services, both in retail and business banking. So I think, as we were saying before we started, when you start on the front line, wherever you take your career in Lloyds, you never really lose that sense of what banking on the front line is actually like and what it feels like to stand there. And, when somebody comes in and asks a question of you, you are the expert and you have to find the answer, whatever it happens to be. That never really leaves you, and it's quite a responsibility in there as well. So
I was going to say, Ian, I said I now work in a comms and a colleague engagement role, and I often still go back to the experiences of when I was first working in branches. So it's definitely stayed with me as well over the last 16 years.
Yes, I'm hoping to bring in Nadia now, who's going to join us. And Nadia, welcome to Careers Live. I think your first time joining us on Careers Live as well.
It's my first time. I feel privileged.
Yeah, well, welcome along. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your role and what you do now for Lloyds Banking Group?
So job today is Head of Communications and Engagement for Consumer Relationships, so the part of the bank that's supporting customers, whether there are business customers or personal customers, but started in branch as well, you know.
Yeah, yes. And so what do you think has actually changed then during your time with, you know, all the changes that you've seen? What do you think is different between like how it was and how it is?
I think someone mentioned in the chat earlier high cash. And certainly when I started, too many years probably mentioned now, that was certainly the truth. And of course we still deal with cash, but the biggest difference is that we're far more digital, far more automated. We use technology much more to make the process much easier for customers. Whereas things were far more manual when I started, lots of paper, logs, that sort of thing. So lots has evolved. In terms of how we interact with customers, though, a lot of that is very similar, except that now I feel like we're able to add more value because we're dealing with far more complex challenges for customers who really need us and add that real human touch.
Yeah. So we know that when people come to join Lloyds Banking Group, they on the front line and we give them quite a lot of training. What do you think are the kind of character strengths and skills that really help people to kind of thrive in this role?
Good question. Definitely the ability to build good working relationships. It's a really big organisation, and like most things in life, the more you can just learn about others and learn about what they're doing, the easier it is to kind of make things happen in the group. We're obviously operating in a really dynamic economic environment right now, so you need to be very flexible because things change. You set out a plan and things evolve very quickly. So adapting to that and showing good resilience is helpful. And then definitely for people like on this call today, the curiosity. And I think people are often scared to bring that in, but what we need is people to bring in their unique thinking, to be brave enough to ask the questions, to challenge the thinking. Just because it's how we've always done it isn't how we should always be doing it. So a braveness and a willingness to be curious and ask the questions, I would say.
A braveness and a willingness to be curious and ask the questions. So you got it there then, folks. So Nadia, how do you think, I'm just thinking now, how can we bring to life for people that because you start on the front line doesn't mean to say that you're going to be there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So I'm wondering whether there's like an example, or maybe maybe your own career is an example of how that frontline service has really helped, but you've moved on to other things.
I think Damon said this a little bit earlier, that even in the job that he's doing today, and he works in my team, I still reflect back on those experiences that I've had. What did we need to do for customers? What's it like working in that environment? And that helps to build some of the propositions or the things that we work on today. In terms of examples of people who've moved up, there's probably just too many to mention. I mean, even last week I had a coffee chat with somebody who I'd brought on as a customer advisor like 10 years ago and is now working in our platform team, so our tech teams. Somebody else who moved through the ranks in the branch and has moved into our tech team. Just loads, so many, including my son.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's more like if your mindset is something that just wants to keep growing and be curious, then you can just start in the branch network and you can have a really rewarding career with Lloyds Banking Group.
I completely concur with that. And also never stop learning. I mean, I've been here 23 years and I've just finished an apprenticeship. Yeah. So there's always opportunity.
Yay, brilliant. So Nadia, I know we're a little bit short on time, so I just want to kind of pause and thank you there. But if anybody's got other questions for Nadia, Nadia's going to stay on and can answer questions in the chat for us as well. Nadia, thank you so much. Brilliant. Damon, over to you.
Yeah, thanks again. Thanks, Nadia. If you tuned into Careers Live daily downloads during National Apprenticeship Week, then our next guest will be really familiar to you. This year, Lloyds celebrated its 10,000th apprentice. We have the honour tonight of meeting not apprentice number 10,000, but apprentice number 1. Missy Ann has a huge wealth of experience that has built across her career so far through several apprenticeships. Welcome, Missy Ann, to Lloyds Careers Live.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hi, Missy Ann. Why don't we start by telling us a little bit about what you do now for Lloyds Banking Group?
So now I am a private banking personal relationship manager. So I look after a portfolio of clients, helping them with their day-to-day banking, from saving money to those big purchases that Ian was speaking about earlier.
Amazing. Okay, so we know that you've developed your career a lot through apprenticeships, but how did things first start out for you?
So I first started with Lloyds when I was 17. I joined the bank on reduced hours whilst I was at college, didn't know what I really wanted to do at the time. And within 9 months of being with the company, the apprenticeships came out. My manager at the time had a sit down chat with me and said about going full time and bringing my career path through Lloyds, and that's what I did. I started it when I was just about 18, just turned 18, so quite a while ago that I started my first apprenticeship.
Amazing. And was it always Lloyds for you, or did you have other ideas to use at
No, it's
school?
always been Lloyds. So no, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was at school at the time. I knew I liked teaching and learning, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So working for Lloyds, it's kind of just foot in the door, kind of happened type situation, and it's worked very well for me.
It sounds like it. You're doing really well. So it'd be really interesting to hear a little bit about your story and how your career has developed over that time. So tell us a little bit about that.
So since starting with the company, I've went into different areas of the business, starting within the telephony team. I've done team management support. I've done training quite a lot of the staff that have come through the business now within telephony until I've got to where I am just now as a personal relationship manager.
Okay, and during that time, how would you say the apprenticeships has been? How important has it been to you in supporting your journey over that time?
Extremely. I've got 2 small children, so I took a bit of a career break and reduced my hours about 6 years into my career after doing my first apprenticeship. And when they got to an age of school age, it was time to pick my career back up. So I picked up my second apprenticeship. And the first thing my assessor asked me was, what do you want out of this? And my response was, I want a promotion. It's time to move on. 18 months later, I got that promotion. So it's worked very well, and I've won quite a few awards with Lloyds, and also finalist for Scotland's Apprentice of the Year this year, just on the back of doing these apprenticeships. So it's opened up a big gateway in terms of my career and where I can take it.
Yeah, you should be really proud. I did see your certificate on LinkedIn over the last couple of weeks. So well done, Miss Yan. Just a quick question, and I know a lot of maybe our audience maybe starting to think about some of these decisions. But I guess whilst you was at school, do you think there was this kind of pressure to go to university versus starting a career and potentially using your apprenticeship route? So it'd be really good to just get your view on that, Missy.
So I didn't know about apprenticeships until I was offered to do one with Lloyds. My school was very much career-wise in terms of go to college, and my careers advisor told me to be a hairdresser. So 12 years later, here I am working in the bank still. But I didn't know about apprenticeships at all. It was very focused on, you have to go to college, you have to go to university, you need to pick your life choice. This is the best of your life. And for me, I'm glad I didn't do it. I'm glad I kind of stepped back and didn't know what I wanted to do and didn't just go for whatever I was told to do by the careers advisors at the time.
Okay, so it'd be really good to understand just in terms of next steps. Are there any other apprenticeships on the horizon for you, or is that done for you?
No, I'm not finished. I've actually applied to do my chartered management degree with Lloyds. So this will be my third apprenticeship. So it follows on from the first two that I did do. So there was no need for me to have the starts of a degree when I began. I just had my standard, well, Scotland it's standard grades, the Nat 5s, etc. So I started my first one and then the second. So I'm now on to waiting to start my chartered management degree, which will complete it as a hat trick for me.
Okay, that's amazing. So you got your hat trick then. And actually, when we was asking a question about having the pressure of going to university and getting a degree, to be honest, you've got the best of both worlds, haven't you there?
Yeah, so I've managed to continue working from the age of 17, earning a wage while still learning. I've managed to have that kind of life that you think of. You want to travel, have children, get a mortgage. I've done all of that without the pressures of university debts, or as you say, starting off once you've finished uni, you've then got to find that career, you've got to find that company to start in. I've done it all from the age of 17 and I've learned and earned my degree on my way.
Okay, no wonder, Missy Ann, you are the face of apprenticeships for Lloyds Banking Group. You're an absolute advocate. It's been really, really great hearing that insight from you. I just want to appreciate your time this evening. Thanks, Missy Ann, for coming on and sharing.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question of Missy Ann before she
Yes.
goes? Is that allowed? Right. Okay. So Missy Ann, if you went back into your high school tomorrow, because I know that you do a lot of work for us, don't you, in going into schools, how do you think your teachers would be impressed at how things turned out for you?
I think they would be very impressed. As I said, my careers advisor told me to be a hairdresser, and that's not something I've ever wanted to do. But I think it would open their eyes, and I would love to sit down and have that chat with them around. There's more than one path. There's not just the university path. They need to look at the different ways. It's squiggly careers. Everyone's got a different outlook and a way of learning. So I think that would be a good conversation that I'd like to have with them.
Brilliant. So if we've got any teachers on the call this evening who want to try and find out more about how careers develop in there, then, get in touch with us. So brilliant insight there from Missy Ann. Thank you so much. Who is also what we call a master skills builder. So at school, you're studying maths, physics, English, geography, all those great subjects, and they give you some great knowledge. But the skills builder framework is designed to help you build those human skills that employers also look for. And what you could hear, those extra things that Missy Ann does as part of her work for Lloyds Banking Group. In fact, lots of different colleagues get involved in different types of volunteering, going out to schools, teaching students about how to develop those 8 essential skills. So you could be doing that as well when you move into the workplace. So you may not be lucky enough to get Missy Ann coming to your school, but if you still want to understand and develop your essential skills using the Skills Builder Home Zone, we will put a link to the chat as we go through it as well. Or you can just Google Skills Builder Home Zone and it'll take you to it. And you can see the types of things that we get up to. We showed you a video just before we started this evening of Mark, my colleague Mark, in Future Leaders Programme, helping students in London to develop their essential skills and employability as well. But now it's back to you. We've got some work for you to do. So we have something a little bit different and a chance for you to experience something of the challenges that frontline banking involves. We've never done this before as well, a bit like a walk around Harbourside this evening. There's a lot of new stuff trying out this evening. And who knows, in the meantime, we might manage to get a drone to drop a new pair of headphones on Damon's house. He definitely knows what he needs to spend that £50 languishing in his wallet on. So we've got a scenario which is we're going to tell you about now. And what we're hoping is that in the chat, you can help us to make the right decisions to get the best customer outcome.
Indeed. Our story begins with Mr. and Mrs. Stanley. They've been customers of Lloyds for, well, almost longer than anyone can remember. They recently celebrated their diamond wedding anniversary with all their friends and extended family around them, including all 16 grandchildren and now 6 great-grandchildren. That's a lot of birthdays to remember. Let's meet them both.
What's the matter, Marion?
I don't know where it's gone.
Well, what's gone?
I got some money out to buy Charlotte a birthday present. It was in here.
Don't worry, love. Don't worry. You don't have a PIN for that account anymore. I don't think you did get out any money.
Yes, I couldn't remember my pin, so they sent me a new one. Where's the money, Peter? I want to buy Charlotte a present. She'll be so upset if we don't get her anything.
It's okay. It's okay, love. Not your fault. Not your fault. Look, I'll give them a ring, see if we can't get this sorted out. Can't believe this is happening again.
Okay, so as Mrs. Stanley is getting a little bit older, she's finding things that she used to be able to do a little bit more difficult. And that includes her day-to-day banking. So she calls into one of our Lloyds Bank branches, the one with the horse, and to talk about the issue with her cards. And on the customer service desk, she meets customer service advisor Natasha. Now, Natasha listens carefully to Mrs. Stanley, who seems to have an issue with her cards and remembering her PIN number. So Natasha notices that Mrs. Stanley is upset, visibly, and frustrated. So here's your first question in terms of how you would deal with this scenario. I need to open my chat for this. So would you, A, resolve the situation quickly, get a new PIN sorted for Mrs. Stanley so that she can use her cards again and let her get on with her way? Or would you, B, invite Mrs. Stanley into a more private area to find out more about what's not working properly for this long-standing customer? So let's see what we've got then. What do people think we should be doing in there? All right, and you can, if you want to, you can add some thoughts about why you think, we've got lots of B's there, but if you've got an idea of why you think it's a B, then, by all means, put something in the chat in there. Think, explain, ask, and signpost. That's really good, actually, Tristan. I like that a lot. Well done. Brilliant. Okay, so let's have a look, I think, and see what happens next, because our answer would have been B as well. Let's see how that worked out.
Here you are, Mrs. Stanley.
Thank you.
I thought it would be a bit nicer if we had a quiet room we could have a chat in. How are you, Mrs. Stanley? How can I help you today?
Well, I went to the, what's it? The thing in the wall. What's it called?
The cash point?
That's it, the cash point. And I put in the numbers, but, I don't know. My memory's not what it used to be. Peter will tell you.
Peter?
Yeah, Peter's my husband. He's upstairs at the moment doing the ironing, but he'll be down again in a bit.
I hope he isn't. It's just our messy staff room up there. So, you've forgotten your PIN number?
Yes, I suppose. Oh, they've changed it. I don't know. I had it written down, but my eyesight's not as good as it used to be, so I can't read the blooming thing.
I am sorry to hear that.
It's one of these things that happens. Enjoy it while you're young.
Okay, so Natasha has picked up that Mrs. Stanley has an issue with her PIN number. Having calmed the situation, created a private and quiet space for Mrs. Stanley to explain what's happening. So now, what should Natasha do? So I'm going to give you a couple of options here now, guys. So A, since she knows there was an issue with the PIN, get it ordered for Mrs. Stanley so she can get on her way. B, gently make further inquiries to find out why Mrs. Stanley is struggling with the way her services are currently provided. Add in the chat any additional thoughts you may have as to why you're choosing A or B, and maybe your reason for choosing. So we can see some B's coming through.
I wonder if anybody wants to tell us why they think it's a B.
So our preferred answer is B. So those who have responded B, it would be really great to hear why you think. But Natasha can see Mrs. Stanley is still not at ease with what's going on. She's made some observations around how Mrs. Stanley is speaking, how she referred to the support she's getting from her husband, who also is a joint account holder and not with her today. She also referenced her husband being upstairs doing the ironing, suggesting that there's a deeper vulnerability that Natasha needs to investigate so she can do the right thing for Mrs. Stanley. Unfortunately, though, Natasha went for option A. Let's see how this scenario plays out.
Right. I'll do that then. Poor Charlotte. By the time she gets this present, it'll be time for her next birthday. Charlotte's my granddaughter. They live in Liverpool now, and... or is it Birmingham? I'll have to ask my daughter for the address again. I had it written down, but I lose things, you see.
I'm sure Charlotte will understand if it's a bit late. A present from your grandma is always really exciting, no matter what day it arrives. Right, Mrs. Stanley, that new pin should have you up and running again. But if you need any more support, you can find information online about the services we offer.
Yes. Goodbye then. Thank you for your help this afternoon.
It's my pleasure. I hope you find something nice for Charlotte.
So Natasha picked up on the need to order the new pin, and it's correct, you shouldn't really write your pin down because it's not secure. But Natasha really missed some of the cues that Mrs. Stanley was displaying that suggests that she needs a different kind of support. Now, Natasha's working in a busy branch, and it was nice that she took time out to make a cup of tea for Mrs. Stanley. But in our opinion, she then tried to rush to a solution that isn't the best one for Mrs. Stanley in the long term. And sometimes cutting a corner saves time in the short run, doesn't really resolve things in the long run. So let's have a look at how things played out when Mrs. Stanley got back home.
I need to get to the shops to buy Charlotte a present.
The shops don't open for another hour. What did she say to you?
I can't remember. It was something about making my bank account better.
But what exactly did she say?
I don't know. I just wanted my pin.
Oh, I can't find anything on here about it. Right, I'll give them a call, see if they've got any idea of what she might have told you.
Natasha has ended up making it more complicated, and Mr. Stanley had come into the branch to ensure that a better solution was in place. Let's have a look at how the conversation turned out.
Mrs. Stanley, lovely to see you again. Mr. Stanley, great to meet you.
Hello.
Oh, good to meet you too. I was pretty worried when I found out that Marion had come in to get a new pin. We have told you about this problem before. She's having problems with her memory.
I'm sorry that wasn't recorded. Marion did mention that before. Thank you for this information. Marion, would you be comfortable with me noting that down on your account so colleagues would be able to help you better in the future?
Yes, that's fine with me.
Great, I've done that. I'd like to talk to you both about how I can support you better. We can look at things like a card with a signature, so you can still buy a present for Charlotte without needing to remember your PIN. We can also give Peter access to your account. That way he can help you when you need a bit of extra support. Some of our customers also register what's called lasting power of attorney. I've got a few other ideas, but I would need to know a little bit more about your circumstances first. How does that sound?
That sounds great to me. Anything so I don't have to remember that blooming pen.
Thank you, Natasha.
Brilliant. So, you know, a little bit more thought there and trying to understand the couple's situation, identified a range of different solutions that would help them in the long term, and importantly, set up systems so that other colleagues in the future would also be able to know that Mrs. Stanley had very specific support needs. So well done if you managed to solve that one. And that's, you know, this is the kind of things that people have to solve for real life, and they matter. They really, really matter to people. Any other lasting thoughts that you have, do feel free to write in the chat if you think that Natasha should have done anything different. So I'll pause there. And Daman, you can tell everybody a little bit about vulnerable customers, which is an important part of our work in branches, whilst anybody's adding any further comments into the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Ian, and well done, everyone. So here at Lloyds, we have a duty of care to our vulnerable customers. Vulnerability is more than customers experience dementia. It can be also people who experience substance addiction, the process of aging, disability, becoming a carer for someone, experiencing financial difficulties, and a range of other circumstances. And life is complicated, and in those moments that matter, that is one key role for the purpose of our people in the front line of banking role. To be their superpowers, to use their superpowers, sorry, to understand customer needs, connect with those, and make sure that they are delivered on each and every time. And for each of those customers, like Mr. and Mrs. Stanley, it makes a huge and important difference to their lives. So have you heard anything on the chat there, Ian?
No, I think everybody's busy asking Sharon questions, which I'm absolutely fine with. So they're all keeping they're keeping Sharon busy, which is always good. Right. Okay. So well done, everybody. So I'm going to introduce our next guest now. So our next guest is Mary, who's one of our apprentices here at Lloyds Banking Group. Welcome, Mary, who's a little bit nervous this evening. Just a little bit.
Hello, hi everyone.
But welcome to Careers Live. So tell us a little bit about what you do then, Mary.
So currently I'm a business support manager for Total Cost of Ownership team, which is the TCO team. And that sits on the commercial optimization. Quite a big team, but, extended into 3 different ways. So.
Yeah. So let me get this straight then. So you went to school, did your exams, and then suddenly ended up in this TCO. No, it didn't really work out like that, right? So how did you start with Lloyds Banking Group? Where was your starting?
So Ian said I went to school. I actually went to university.
Yeah.
So I started in branch. I completed my network computing engineering in University Brunel. I tried to get into the grad scheme, went through a bit of like 2-3 sessions, and I decided, well, not too sure what I wanted to do, but I thought, let me try something new, something that would challenge me. And I applied to work in branch. I got into branch as a customer advisor, and went through the whole process, worked for a couple of years, and then COVID hit. So looking at what was happening, I did some professional courses to be a bereavement accredited colleague, helping hand, branch managers, customers, just different things you could do while you work in branch. So I think I started working in branch in August of 2018.
Yeah, so I get the impression then that if you set your mind to it and want to just keep learning, you can just take your career in endless directions from starting off in one place. So how do you think knowing what that frontline banking is like has kind of like is still helping you in shaping your career and how you work with Lloyds?
Yeah, so when you start working in a branch, it's a different ball game. You see different people, you meet different people from different culture, you learn skills of how to communicate with customers. You're meant to think on your feet in regards to how you deal with customers. If you have customers who cannot speak, you have to learn how to kind of communicate. It's different. You learn skills, you take on skills and you get all the training. You take on these skills, and then when you end up progressing in your career, those skills and those attributes or those things that you've learned working, being the frontline staff, you carry it along with you. These are things that they teach you, and you get the training while you're in branch. It's like an everyday affair. Every day you learn while you're in branch. You learn different skills, whether you plan to or not. You're learning new skills every day because you meet different people who have different issues, and you learn how to sort those different issues, and you just add that onto your shoulder. Yeah, I've learned something new today. So it's different. It's different when you come in from branch.
Yeah, I think that is I think that's really nice, actually, as a way of explaining it. So I guess one last question, if I can manage to sneak this one in there. So you're you're doing an apprenticeship now, right? Have I got this right? Or you've been doing an apprenticeship?
Yes.
So lots of people tend to think about apprenticeships as something that is kind of like for when you're 16 or 18 and kind of like just coming out of school and whatever. So how's it work then? So you went to university, then you went to work, and then you went to do an apprenticeship. So what's the deal there then? How does that work?
With me, because I've got a network computing engineering background and I'm working in the financial sector, they're two different things. So having a degree there does not stop me working for a financial company, but I wanted to understand the roots of how a financial company operates. When I hear certain words, I need to understand. I want to know how the structure is made. What are the laws, the legal sides behind it? You know, I wanted to understand all of it so that when I decide to, go for promotions, I know that I have the background I have a financial background, I have the training, I have the skills, I've learned what I need to know about a financial company and how, to work in a financial sector. So I took on the apprenticeship just so that I would have that foundations, the grounding around working in a financial sector and understand how, the whole structure is. And that's why I took on the apprenticeship. So yes, I have a degree, but taking an apprenticeship, it does not stop you from doing it. It's not for 16-year-olds. You could be whatever age you are and you could still take up an apprenticeship. It just means that you're opening doors for yourself when it comes to the company. You could either go left or right just because you've got those skills, coming in and doing an apprenticeship. Most people probably think, oh, do I have to pay for it? No, the company's offering it to you. It's up to you if you want to learn, you want to progress. It's free.
So, and then here to tell us all about it. Thank you so much, Mary. That was brilliant. And I'm only sorry that we're running short on time. But I think Damon has now got Sharon, who's going to tell us all about apprenticeships and how they work. I know Sharon's been working.
Yes. Thanks, Mary. Who said Mary was nervous? That was brilliant. So thanks for bringing that to life. So I'm going to be firing questions at Sharon, all about apprenticeships. Okay, so a lot of you guys in the audience may have already started firing some questions to her. I'm going to do a little bit of the same, but hopefully we can get a little bit more information on what apprenticeship really is. So that's where I'll start, Sharon, if that's okay. So Sharon's in our Lloyds apprenticeship team. So how does an apprenticeship actually work, Sharon?
Sure. So just before I start with that, Damon, and I'm quite conscious that Damon and Sharon rhyme, so I'll try not to say that too many times. But yeah, hello from South Wales, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the call tonight. As Damon says, I am part of the apprenticeship team here at Lloyds Banking Group, and it's great to see so many of you on the call. I'm not going to lie, I've done my best with the chat, but maybe I could do with an IT apprenticeship as well. However, a little bit about me. I have been with Lloyds Banking Group for 27 years. I've definitely had a squiggly career, as it's referred to, and done lots of different things during that period. I also went to university, and I've also done an apprenticeship here at Lloyds. So just echoing some of the things that the other speakers have mentioned on the call today, that an apprenticeship is not just for a young person, it can be, but it's for a range of people at a range of points in their careers as well. So what is an apprenticeship? An apprenticeship is a development program that allows you to grow and develop knowledge, skills and behaviours in your current role. So for example, you may join us externally and you may come in to a role that has an apprenticeship aligned to it. That's great. So for example, we offer apprenticeships in data, in finance, in internal audit. You may come and join Lloyds Banking Group as a company and do an apprenticeship aligned to that. Or you may join Lloyds Banking Group perhaps in a role which doesn't actually have an apprenticeship automatically aligned to it, spend some time developing and growing in that role, and then decide to do an apprenticeship off the back of that. So Nadia, for example, was talking earlier that she's done a leadership apprenticeship. So again, an apprenticeship where she can grow the knowledge and skills and behaviours in her role. So there's various routes to apprenticeship programmes and different parts and different elements that can suit different people.
Amazing, thanks, Sharon. In terms of funding, do students need to fund and pay for the training when you're on an apprenticeship?
Not at all. So I think Mary mentioned this as well in her session. So an apprenticeship is really now, I think, becoming much more appealing to young people. When you're looking at the costs, etc., that are associated with alternative routes, for example, university, you have to be thinking quite carefully there about the fees, the ongoing maintenance loans, etc., that'll build up. But if I give you an example of a comparative programme that we have in Lloyds Banking Group, so you could join Lloyds Banking Group or apply to for our internal audit programme, you would then start on a level 4 programme, which is the equivalent of a first year degree programme. Once you'd completed that, you would go on to do a level 7, which is the equivalent of a master's level programme. So you'd actually, at the end of your training period with Lloyds Banking Group, be more qualified in that role and have the same professional qualifications as if you'd gone to university, with no costs and no fees to pay back whatsoever, all funded directly by Lloyds Banking Group. And even better than that, all the way through, you'd be earning a wage as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Sharon. You've really brought that to life. I've got one last question for you,
yeah.
Sharon. I'm really sorry. I would like to ask you loads more, but how can people find out more about the apprenticeships and the vacancies we have here at Lloyds?
Yeah, no problem. So I've put a few bits in the chat there. So there's Lloyds Banking Group Careers and there's Lloyds Banking Group Talent. So have a look at both of those just so you see the breadth of roles that are available, either via the apprenticeship, undergraduate route, bit in there about industrial placements that some people on the chat have been asking about as well. But then more broadly, you'll see some roles, wider roles right across the country in the Lloyds Banking Group /careers site as well. So if you go in there, you might see a role that, as I've mentioned earlier, doesn't or isn't associated directly with an apprenticeship, but is available for you to apply for. And when you're in that role, you would be able to consider then if there was one applicable for an apprenticeship at that stage. But I would encourage, and I think just to pick up on one other point that was mentioned in the chat, we do recruit and assess on strengths. We understand that people may not have all the experience, especially younger people, or the technical ability. We have a strengths-based assessment process. So we're looking to understand the real you, see what strengths you could bring to our values-led organisation, and then we'll look to develop you and give you the skills that you need to be successful, to hopefully have a 27-year career, which I've had to date.
Thank you so much, Sharon. That was an amazing session from South Wales, from Sharon. So really, really appreciate your time. Keep asking the questions, guys, in the chat.
Absolutely,
so,
I'm here. I'm doing my best.
Right, got 120 seconds left though before the money runs out in the meter from the South Wales Massive. Here we have learned so many great things this evening, but it's time to look ahead to what we've got coming up. Next month in Lloyds Careers Live, we'll be looking at careers in data. Data science, data analytics. Remember, it's the first Tuesday of every month. So next month will be June the 6th, Tuesday, June the 6th, and it'll be at 6 p.m. This is a really hot area. There's loads of employer demand at the moment. So you may think it's a job for the mathematicians. It actually is. That's absolutely true, but there's also loads of other different skills involved in there as well. And we have lots of apprenticeships in data from level 3 all the way up into degree level as well. So it's a growing field. Gareth is putting some links up on the website at the moment for that one. A couple of other links that we'd guide you to: Lloyds Careers website, Lloyds Group Talent website. The Sharon's put some things in there, and you can book ahead for next month as well. The talent website is where you can register for upcoming vacancies and apprenticeships here at Lloyds. Breathlessly, Damon, it doesn't end there, does it?
No, it doesn't. We've also got another 2 great resources, the Association for Apprentices and Amazing Apprenticeships. Both of these websites give you loads of insight around apprenticeships and how to find them, whatever employer or career sector you're thinking of. And lastly, if you've missed any of our previous Lloyds live sessions or would like to rewind tonight's event, I definitely would like to rewind it with my tech problems today, but head over to the YouTube channel where you can learn around careers in audit, finance, software development, engineering, cybersecurity, and so many more.
Oh, so thank you to all of our guests and our production team, Gareth and the guys. We're handing the baton over now to our colleagues who are going to be presenting careers in data science and analytics in June. But for now, as we are just at the 7 o'clock mark, from all of us here at Lloyds Banking Group, we wish you the very best and every success wherever your career takes you. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
What does success mean to us?
Success is making a difference.
For our customers and our communities.
Success is empowering people from the start.
Building their confidence.
Giving them tools to start their careers.
Success is putting our people first.
It's knowing when to listen.
And making the time to talk.
Success is supporting causes we care about.
It's getting involved.
All hands on deck.
Success is making banking better.
It's engineering a fairer future.
Making progress and leaving no one behind.
Whatever shape it takes.
Success starts with us.